I think I'm going to like saying, welcome to the Way of Compassion Dharma Center. It's got a good roll. So tonight we are on right concentration, and the folklorico is helping us as our singer helped us the other night, right? We were doing right effort. The context of this path we really always want to refresh. And the title of this is session 7, really, of the Eightfold Path in daily life. And for me, I've noticed that within Buddhism, people can get really lost. It's really easy to get lost. There's a lot of different lineages, a lot of different traditions, a lot of practices, a lot of sutras. And my monastery alone, the career path to become a teacher is 15 to 20 years to study and debate all the texts. So it's a big, and that's just one lineage. So when you really take this on the idea of being a Buddhist or a Buddhist path, and how do I remove suffering, it can get really complicated. And a lot of times people will be in practices and they really don't know why they're practicing. And they can, we have lots of, within the Tibetan tradition, we have lots of rituals that we do. I keep things pretty simple, but we normally have bells and dorjes and very elaborate things that we do, water bowl offerings and so forth. And they're all really beneficial. They all have a point. They all have a purpose. But everything we do can have that same point and purpose. And so when I think about how we can really benefit in the life that we have and the way that we live life, as I mentioned in our mind training class, every moment of our life can be Dharma practice. Most of our life is not going to be in a monastery. Most of our life is not going to be spent, 10, 12 hours a day in a nice retreat hut. We're going to have things to do in our day, and that doesn't need to offset the benefits I have when I actually do some more formal practice. So the approach here is really that I set aside some dedicated time to have a formal practice. A little time to meditate, a little time to call to mind the truth of things, to set a right intention, to remember how the world actually works. And then with that formal practice of stabilizing my mind and getting clear and having a good motivation to participate in this day that will never come again, then I can engage in the world in a way that allows me to cultivate two things. And it's pretty simple. Every day, two things that you want to be cultivating. Virtue and wisdom. That's it. Every day. What am I doing that's adding to virtue, that's adding merit, that's accumulating good karmic potentials for me, as opposed to, the non-virtuous ones, which we're really good at. We're really good at. So we need some force to go against that. And wisdom is, what am I doing each day to understand how things really are? What's this world that we live in? Rather than my really obscured, diluted view and labeling of the world. So pretty much Buddhism is having us really focus on these two areas. Every day when I wake up, I can be cultivating merit or wisdom, or both simultaneously, even better. And the way to do that is within this Eightfold Path. And the Eightfold Path, the path to remove all suffering, to obtain enlightenment, has just 3 categories. I like to keep things really practical. It's got ethics, concentration, and wisdom. Ethics, creating virtue. Stop doing things that are harmful to me. Stop doing things that create a lot of unhealthy habits and tendencies in my life. Stop doing things that create distance from me and others and lead to anger, resentment, jealousy. Ethics, I can start cultivating, watering seeds that lead towards connection, towards health and happiness, towards loving kindness, towards compassion, towards joy. So I can water those seeds. So ethics is a way of really clearing a way of, it's doing two things. It's clearing away a lot of harmful imprints that we already have, so we can see a little more clearly. And it's cultivating new ones. It's cultivating these seeds that are going to ripen into really good conditions for us to remove suffering in our lives, to be able to concentrate better. So in a very clear example, ethics then, as we've said over and over, is the ground from which all spiritual growth comes. I'm going to, if I want to learn how to have a mind that's functional and serviceable, this is where we're going here with concentration, I'm going to be able to concentrate better if I'm more calm and ethical in my life. I'm not going to be able to meditate so well if I've got anger, resentment, jealousy, and frustration, all that stuff. But it's not going to work very well. The common analogy, and I just love it because Tubden Chodron was giving this example, is that I go to work and I lie, and then I sit on my meditation cushion and I meditate on truth. It doesn't work very well. And it's like just throwing mud on our windshield. We'll sit and we'll meditate, and we'll clear a little mud, and then we go out in the room and sling some more mud on it, and it just it's not very clear. So ethics is this foundation and the conditions from which we can concentrate better. If I can concentrate better, I'll have more opportunity present in my life and to make healthy choices, which allows me to be more ethical. And when I'm using the word ethical, I'm not using necessarily a big list of this is right and wrong. Again, we always come from the context of doing things that lead to beneficial results, doing things that are healthy for you and others, doing things that create healthy habits, creating conditions from which you can grow. That's the ethics. How can you be of benefit to self and others? That's ethical. It's virtuous. So understanding that, we can bring that into our daily life, but we'll notice that if my mind's not very concentrated, real quickly I can be creating all kinds of unhealthy imprints. And a classic example that I just love saying this because it's so classic. This guy was asking Tubden Chodron a question, because this is all great. We're at this, Dharma retreat, and it feels good, and I get it, and I understand it. It's wonderful. And he says, but how do you keep it? I did a 10-day retreat, a Vipassana retreat. It was great. I was blissed out. It was wonderful. I'm not even home yet. I'm flipping people off on the highway. It was so great to hear this guy so authentically say that. Because it nails it, right? We could walk out the room and, oh my God, my mind is, when we're in a nice space and a nice setting, nice to be calm. If we're talking about what's relevant, that's helpful. But then we walk out the door and my mind's everywhere. And it's just caught up in emotions and feelings and thoughts and sensual desires, smell and taste and sound. And, I'm off to the races. And so a whole day's gone by and I don't even know where my car keys are. I had them. I know I had them somewhere, but, where are they? So if our mind's like that, it's really hard to make healthy choices because we're not there to make the choice. We're just not there to make the choice. And we're more in reactive mode and we're on autopilot, right? Our mind's off, we're doing things, and so it's not very conscious, so we can't really make healthy choices. So you can see where they feed each other. The more I have a balanced, healthy, serviceable mind, the more I'm able to make healthy choices because I can be where I am. And if we infuse both of these in wisdom to see how things really work, if I understand the nature of how things work, I'll be able to make better choices. But if I don't know how things work, I'm on autopilot, I don't see clearly, I'm just going to react to things inaccurately, and I'm going to create a lot of unwholesome karmic imprints, and I'm just going to stay deluded, and I'm going to be subject to anger, resentment, jealousy, frustration, etc., on and on, depression, anxiety, fear. And it's a vicious cycle. Cyclic existence, samsara, but round and around. And so This piece that we're on now, we talked a bit about right view, right intention, the wisdom piece, how the world actually, phenomena and how I interact works a lot more accurately. And if I understand that, I can make some more choices that are healthy, which creates the virtue and the good conditions, to which I can now really focus on taming the mind, making the mind serviceable, clear, making the mind functional in a healthy way. Actually, having my mind go where I would like it to go. Yeah, that's a fascinating thing. Make the mind go where you would like instead of having it drag you around all day. Look at that, feel that, worry about this. Yeah. Is there popcorn around? The mind will just pop up. That just popped in, literally. Mind's got all kinds of things going on, you know. Just stop for a minute, you'll notice. And so when we come into this portion of it, we really don't want to take lightly the value of concentration. And so within the concentration piece here, we had right effort. We talked about that. So right effort, just again, watching my mind and trying to prevent unhealthy mental states arising. And if they do arise, taking some steps to confront and avert them. And then arising healthy states, wholesome states that are, you know, loving kindness, compassion, clarity, wisdom. And the fourth piece to that is sustaining those. So there's effort there. There's some effort. There's some effort that's required because we're not naturally there. We wake up in the morning and you know what the first thought is? Me. What do I want? I want some coffee. I need to go to the bathroom. I need this. I. And things are on. And it takes an effort to wake up with a different attitude. It says, here's another day that will never come again. How can I live it meaningfully? How can I cultivate some wisdom and clarity and virtue in my life? It's a different thought process. It takes some effort. It also takes some effort to remember that when I'm angry, frustrated, resentful, jealous, fearful, worried, that is dependent upon me misperceiving reality. Because that's, again, not a natural state, right? I'm angry, you're the cause of it. And you know, what are you doing? You know, buck up, straighten up, and stop doing that. Make me happy, you know. Love that one with your spouse, right? Your job is to make me happy. Buck up, I'm not feeling happy. Or, you know, the way we see people and how we label them. And it just goes on. And it's a diluted state of mind. When I'm angry, frustrated, resentful, all those states of mind are dependent upon misperception. They're dependent upon misperception. So the answer is to see things clearly. If we see things clearly, guess what does not arise? All these mental afflictions, they don't arise. The answer is wisdom. The only way to get there, though, is to have a mind that's clear, that is serviceable, that can address the mental afflictions. And really that's, you know, when we think about meditation, the purpose of meditation is to address the mental afflictions that we have. That's what we do it for. So there's a lot of reasons people meditate. People meditate to, you know, it feels good, right? Sometimes it does, right? Sometimes the 10 minutes can feel like an hour, but got to meditate. That's not so much fun. But, you know, other times it feels really great. And if you do it regularly, you're going to have these benefits. And there's lots of things that people do that are around the idea of relaxation, right? We hear some sounds and we can relax, you know, or ocean sounds, right? Really relaxing because we have so much stress. It's healthy. It's nice. But when we're thinking about right concentration, we're really addressing and focusing on how do I confront and address my mental afflictions. And it's a particular kind of concentration, and it comes from only one place in the sense of motivation. It needs to be wholesome motivation in the sense of my concentration to really remove the mental defilements in my mind. And with that type of a motivation, you can get on this path of what we call right concentration. A place to have the mind be serviceable, to be relaxed, to be clear where we place it. Now, there's another kind, that people can do. You can become really concentrated and really focused, and it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. So the examples I use is, um, people who are very good serial killers can concentrate really well. They can plan things really well. They can be very calm. They can be, really clear. That does not apply at all in this realm of what we're talking about, the mental faculties that cultivate this type of attention. It's got to be embedded in virtue, really. So that's the qualities that happen. So as we enter into right concentration, so we did right effort, and then right mindfulness is, one of my favorite topics. We covered that pretty well last week, and that's really a lot of qualities that really monitor and allow us to be present in real clear ways, and help us with the seeds of really cultivating good concentration. But it's not the same thing. A lot of people concentrate and they think they're being mindful. Concentration is different than mindfulness. Mindfulness knows if you're concentrating or not. When you're concentrating, you're just concentrating. There's a subtle difference there. But they really are necessary to complement each other. And so when we do concentration practice, like shamatha, which we'll talk about here tonight, what we do is really create the conditions to cultivate mindfulness and introspection and wisdom. So it really helps. But here, as we get into right concentration, we're really addressing a very clear mental affliction. I mean, lots of them. But the biggest one is our mind is scattered and diffuse and jumping from one thought to another. And it's dragging us around. And we don't really have a lot of control. We just don't. The joke in Alan Wallace's video, right? You tell the mind, yeah, let's be quiet. And the mind says, yeah, let's talk about that. Right? And it does. You're sitting there, you're breathing, meditating. Wow, I'm really doing it right. Well, am I doing it right? Or now am I thinking about it? Now I thought about it. Now I'm not really breathing. Now, am I breathing? Okay, I'm aware of the breath, but now I know I'm aware of my breath. Is that, you got this whole dialogue going on, and it's just fascinating. The mind's always got something to say. And so when we enter into this, what we really want to understand, there's got to be some effort. We really, if we want to train our mind, we need some dedicated practice time. And we need a place to start. And you know where you start? You start where you are. Okay? You start where you are. One of the big problems that I think really overwhelms us in the West is people want to start where they want to be. Right? Yeah, I'm going to go book a week retreat by myself, plan out a good 8 hours a day to meditate, not talk to anybody. Yeah, may the force be with you. Or they do the 10-day retreat and they come back and they're going to do an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening, and that's nice. And if you do have, some people do have those conditions right, and that's nice, and they can do that. More often than not, they're not quite right. And what happens is, I've got this commitment to meditate, and I do my morning, and then the evening, it's like, I have to go meditate. That's just not the way to meditate. I have to. And then it's a burden. Then it's something you got to do. And then inevitably that practice fades. So we want to start where we're at. We want to start small, and we want to grow it. So where I'm at, I just had a friend of mine text me who's taking a mindfulness course with me before class. And he asked, this meditation thing is difficult. I can't do it. It's challenging. Really, I said, well, go small, short segments. Do some more. So she just texted me back, I'm doing 5 minutes. Yeah, that's awesome. 5 minutes. And just do 5 minutes a few times a day. Start where we are. We start where we are, but we also want to make sure that we grow. So if we want to start this process, there's a lot of, within the text of an Eightfold Path, they're going to talk about all these types of meditations, and different meditation masters are going to have different types that they would suggest to you based on your tendencies and personality and what the makeup is. And, but universally, generally, across the board, and I would say just overwhelmingly, especially in our culture, the most recommended meditation for our biggest problems here in a Western modern society is mindfulness of breath. That's the one, because we have a mind that is just all over the place and it can't concentrate, and it's multitasking, which means it's not doing anything well. And over and over it'll come back to mindfulness breath. So that's really why I choose that. It's just the most emphasized practice for cultivating what we call shamatha, calm abiding, which leads to samadhi, the unification of the mind, and where we'd like to go with it. Overwhelmingly, it's been taught just flawlessly. And so if we're going to really address this, then it's to have a regular practice. So every day, if your practice is 5 minutes, do that every day. If your practice is 10 minutes, do that every day. Continuity of consciousness is more important than doing a retreat now and again. It's more important than doing an hour here and there. Daily continuity of practice. And then when you leave your meditation practice, to try to actually bring some awareness into what we're doing now, so we don't keep just losing what we get. So we really want to start where we are, and we want to create the conditions to really be successful. So setting times that are meaningful for you. You'll find that if I really want to establish a good practice, the time to start that intention is the night before you wake up. If you want to meditate in the morning, the night before is when you set that intention. The night before, for me, I have a little ritual. I'll make the coffee pot, I'll get that all set, the grounds, and I literally visualize myself coming out of the bedroom, a little staggered, getting my cup of coffee and getting that ready so I can go upstairs to the meditation room. It's preset before I've gone to bed. So when that alarm goes off, instead of hitting doze, I still hit doze. Okay, so when I hit doze, that's more accurate. My mind is, I need to get up, get my coffee, and I've already visualized it, so I can get out of bed and go get the coffee, and I get up before it goes, the second one goes off. Yeah, usually. Got the patrol over here. So, so if we want this, we really want to set that intention that this, when I go to bed, and I'm going to wake up, 20 minutes early. I'm going to wake up a half hour early, This is when I'm going to wake up, and when I wake up, I'm going to do this. I get my cup of coffee, so I'm a little bit awake, and then I go up and I do my meditation. And so that's what I'm going to do, and I set that the night before. And as the alarm goes off, so I'm already got some some force, some momentum. That's the word I was looking for, momentum. And I go up, and then when I sit to meditate, well, I want to know why I'm meditating, right? I don't want a vague idea that it's good for me. I've seen people do this. They really look cool. They look happy. Yeah, my teeth. I guess you got some used to me. Yeah, you look good. It's nice. Not necessarily going to get you anywhere, but what will get you where is knowing why you're doing it. So number one, when you go to have this meditation practice, know that this is going to allow me to actually have some choice in my life. This is going to allow me to have a mind that's serviceable. This is going to allow me to actually be present in the life I'm living. It's going to allow me to make healthier choices. If I don't do this, the chances of me really being able to address and live in a world as it is are pretty remote. We have habits and tendencies, and they're strong, and they're reinforced, and this does not change without effort. It does not change without effort. It gets worse. It gets worse. But if we can really work with the mind, think about getting rid of not worrying about Alzheimer's. Think about actually growing your memory. If you learn how to train your mind, if we learn how to be mindful, you're going to know where your car keys are. You're going to remember the last conversation. You're going to know who you just met 2 minutes ago because you were there. And your mind's going to work better. Neurons that fire together wire together. That's just science. And so it's using the mind in a real clear way. So really remember that we have a reason for this. The reason is it's going to allow us to participate in our life the way we would like to, in a meaningful way. And if I don't do this, I'm going to be a prisoner. I'm going to remain a prisoner. I'm already a prisoner of my mind. That's going to tell me to worry about this, think about that, dread this, fear that, get upset about this. Even when I tell myself, there's nothing to get angry about here. And your mind says, oh, yes, there is. Or feelings. Feelings are just so strong, right? Sadness, joy, these things that override us. And we really identify with them. And we're compelled in them. And so we can actually change that. We can change that. So if I meditate, I'm planting seeds that can change this. I'm wearing other neural pathways. And when I'm doing this, I have the opportunity to change everything. But I don't get much of a change if I don't learn how to direct the mind where I'd like, if I don't cultivate these qualities. So if I remember this, well, hey, now I have a reason to meditate. I'd like to participate in my life. I'd like to remove suffering. I'd like to be cultivating genuine well-being, health, and happiness in my life. I'd like to remove suffering. I'd like to see things clearly. Well, these are a lot of good reasons to meditate. So here, in this right concentration, we want to cultivate concentration. And when we sit down to do it, you'll notice that if you do it for a short time, like when we did the body scan, or you're relaxed, or you do a few minutes, it feels good. It feels good. Even people with pretty agitated minds, if you can get them in a chair, if you can get them to relax, if you can get some breath, it feels good. But then what happens is your mind shows up. and the 5 hindrances show up. So the 5 hindrances, we covered that previously, but these 5 hindrances are going to arise, and they're going to arise strong. One is sensual desires, right? The senses, hearing sound, and so forth. It's the most powerful one. It's going to arise. I'm not quite comfortable. These things are going to rise, and our concentration is going to get infiltrated. Even thinking about right now, chocolate cream pie that's in my refrigerator. So I know I'm on a food thing. Don't I get there? Okay, I won't go on that tangent. So, staying focused. So, the 5 hindrances, there's a good example of a hindrance arising. Yeah? And then ill will, but really not just ill will, wishing ill upon others, but aversion, dislike, and those types of things. So things we really like and things that we really don't like, those things will arise. Dullness and laxity, right? So we'll do that when we meditate, right? It's a very common meditation posture. And then the snoring. If you go on retreats, there's always somebody snoring. So very common. So that arises, this really dullness. And then the other side of that is restlessness and worry, that excited mind, it's going on to this and that. And then doubt. So those are the 5. So these 5 things pop up, and they're going to interfere. And so there are antidotes. We kind of talked about those before, so I'm not going to unpack them all. But in the bigger picture, that we just note their rise, and with a level of, as I like to remind people, to keep bringing your awareness back. Mind wanders, no problem. I keep bringing back. Mind wanders, no problem. Keep bringing back. That over time, I will be able to keep my focus where I have placed it. And so there's different technical measurements of this in right concentration. So the sort of, I'll go Theravada path here, is going to talk about these 5 jhana factors. So 5 sort of jhana factors that basically, to get to a point where we really have a healthy, serviceable mind, we work through these 5 jhana factors. And these 5 jhana factors offset, ultimately, the 5 hindrances. And first one's pretty common. It's initiating the concentration. It's initiating the object. I'm putting my attention on the breath. I'm initiating that. Then there's sustaining, so that I'm actually able to keep it there a while. And then the third one, you're going to love the third one. Rapture. Like that. Rapture. And then happiness. And then single-pointed concentration. And if you're able to work through and acquire all of these factors as you work through a practice of mindfulness of breath, you actually get to a single-pointed state, sort of samadhi, concentration. And from a shamatha point of view, we talk about 9 stages. Again, getting to that same point. And, well, actually I'm switching traditions, so let's just stick with the Theravada. So if we can get to this state, it's a really clear state, single-pointed concentration, where we really have an opportunity to immerse into what we're paying attention to, and our level of awareness becomes really, really strong and healthy and well. There's no other way to really get there. We got to actually do it. And now, practically, again, we live in a busy world. You're probably not going to go get a retreat hut for 2 years and, have 10, 18 hours a day to, cultivate what we call shamatha. But we can, every day that we focus and bring our attention to our breath. One of my teachers who's actually achieved all these states, and he really comes from the shamatha perspective. He says, put away the scorecards, put away the levels, and just know that every mindful breath you take, you're achieving shamatha. Every time I'm taking a mindful breath, I'm accomplishing a healthier ability to be with my mind. And that's a good way to go. So when we have 1,000 mindful moments, that's a lot of 1,000 wonderful opportunities. And we focus on that ability to be able to bring our attention there. So if we were to kind of gauge it in these sort of nine stages, they would say that I would tell you actually, I'm going to use his words. So stage 1 is you can locate the object. So if it's breath, you can locate the breath. That means you are a successful level 1 shamatha practitioner. You've already nailed it. It's pretty good. Then if I could actually keep my awareness on the breath for about a minute or so, maybe a little more than a minute actually, about that, without letting my mind go off on tangents, you're at level 2. You're a successful level 2. But see what happens with Westerners, we start thinking about the levels. I want to get to 3, 4, 9, right? And I'm telling you this just because if you get to like 3 is where pretty much for most of your meditation session, you haven't lost the object. You just haven't lost it. So if it's the breath, you've been aware of it the whole time. And it's not that it's great attention, like my mind's kind of doing this important, but I still have like a little attention still focused on the breath, so we get that. And if you can be, I would say, just from my personal experience, a level 3 practitioner, which I think we can all, it's very doable to be able to do a session where you actually pay attention to the breath the whole session. It is light years away from our habituated mentality. light years. And it really empowers you the tools to bring some of that awareness into your daily life and to really transform things. The mind's still going to be busy. They actually say that even into levels like 5, maybe around 5, up to, that even though you can rest your awareness, not lose the object, be present, they say that the mind is still a cascading waterfall of thoughts. You're just not paying attention to it. So it hasn't really slowed it down. But as you get a little higher, then it slows down. And ultimately, and I'll just tell you what ultimately happens. What ultimately happens is if you go through all the stages where you get and rest in shamatha or samadhi, in that sense of just real immersion in your awareness and single-pointed concentration, and rest there, calmly abide there. All of your sense consciousness, all of the cognitive activity, all that in the mind stops, and there's stillness. And the sense consciousnesses actually dissolve away into pure awareness. So you're not aware of sound, you're not aware of sight, you're not aware of your body. You're just resting in pure awareness. This is what they call more of a natural state of mind. It's not nirvana, it's not enlightenment. A lot of people get there and they think, I'm enlightened, because it's blissful, it's luminous, it's non-conceptual. They're not enlightened. They're just reaching this, what we call shamatha, essentially, and access to the first jhana, really. And in that state, clearly aware, blissful, you're just not even aware of your own body, and it's great. The problem is that when you stop meditating, all your mental afflictions are still there, and you haven't done anything irreversible. So when you're meditating, it's great and it is helpful, but in itself, it's not going to eliminate suffering. It's just going to bring your mind to a real clear place. So the Buddha's big innovation and what really attained liberation was that he, because there were great meditation masters way before he was born, high levels of samadhi, much further than that took you through all the jhanas. His innovation was at this first access point, this state of shamatha, that your mind at that level is clear, rested, pure awareness. But if you wanted to use some of your cognitive abilities, if you wanted to think about something, you still could. You get a little higher up there, a little more subtle, you can't really use that. So at this level, you could. And so he rested here, and then he took, and then used that level of mind to meditate on the nature of reality, on the nature of how things exist, insight meditation. And it's the fusion of those two, combining this level of concentration with insight, vipassana, that liberated and became enlightened, where he used that level of mind to directly attack the roots of suffering, the roots of our mental afflictions, to see things clearly. And that was his big innovation, is combining shamatha, calm abiding, with vipassana, insight meditation. So, in our world that we live in, that's busy, where we don't necessarily have a bunch of years to go off and do this, but there are people doing it right now. We can take our formal practice of sitting, of getting our mind more serviceable, more alert, more clear, to be able to direct it where we'd like. And then as we participate in the world, that becomes our vipassana practice. As I participate in the world, I start paying attention to how I'm labeling things. I start paying attention to how my emotions get triggered and how I think it's you, but it's really not. I start understanding that the environment I'm in are conditions, but my suffering, the cause, is here. It's in my mind. It's not out there. My suffering never comes from outside. It just doesn't. Now, I'm talking about mental suffering, not, again, somebody hits you with a bat, gonna hurt. That's pain. I don't call that pain. So distinction here, mental suffering. anger, resentment, frustration, jealousy, all those mental sufferings. Those can only come from one place, my mind. That's it. There's no other more. And yet, it really doesn't feel like that, does it? It really feels like that person's the cause of my suffering. This event is, this job is, that, whatever it is that is really ruining my day. I like that. It ruined my day. It was my day. It wasn't your day. Man, it just ruined my whole day. Yeah. Just the statement doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it? But we grasp on to me and mine, and then there's you and yours, and then how I relate, and how I label things, how I inaccurately label things, and how I think things that are permanent that aren't permanent, on and on. The cycle of delusion creates a lot of suffering, and mostly we just do it blindly. So now we actually can take some time, cultivate this concentration, so where I can bring this mind in and start paying attention to my emotions. And as they arise, noting, they're not me. My emotions are not me. They will come and they will go. You'll still be here. And I'll tell you what, if that ever gets from a philosophy to a realization, guess what happens? You are no longer subject and compelled by your emotions. You can now respond to them rather than react from them. So if we start paying attention with a mind that's serviceable, I can start noticing that. Hey, I was really angry yesterday. And you know what? I'm not angry anymore. Hey, I was really happy yesterday. I'm not so happy right now. That went too. They come and go. They're mental states, and they come and they go. They're not me. They're an experience I'm having. We forget that because we really identify with it. We identify with these feelings. So the idea is that I can, through my meditation practice, really bring a level of ability and serviceability to my mind to where I can start bringing and living more consciously in the world I'm interacting with. And if I have right view, along with right intention, remember right intention, that I would have to need to remember in order to cultivate wholesome karma, to cultivate right intention, harmlessness, goodwill, and renunciation. So if my motivation are those, I'm cultivating wholesome, virtuous activity. If it's attachment, aversion, and misperception, I'm cultivating unhealthy. But we're not normally thinking like that, are we? We're normally thinking, man, I hope that coffee's good. And yet the coffee's not good or bad, right? Neither is the cream pie waiting in my refrigerator. It's not delicious. It appears to be, but the delicious is here, not in the pie. The pie is a condition from which I experience the deliciousness. But the deliciousness is really coming from my experience of it, and the experience comes from the karma I've created. And some people don't like chocolate cream pie. I know it's weird. But there are people who don't like chocolate cream pie. So the chocolate cream pie is not delicious. Some people don't like coffee. I'll never get that one. But we think this coffee is delicious rather than I am having a delicious experience as I taste this radiant nectar that I'm labeling coffee. And that's really how things work more accurately. So in order to understand that, we need to have a mind that is more clear, that we need to, when we wake up, remember how things were. That's the effort, again, the effort to remember how things are. And to have the idea that what I think, say, and do is planting karmic imprints all the time. It's just flinging seeds out there, and they don't go away. They don't go away. Everything I think, say, or do, there's a tape recording. It's there. And it will, that's the law of karma. Once a seed's planted, it's going to have an effect. It's going to have an effect. There's no way around it. And there's this purification of karma. It doesn't really kill the seed. It purifies the conditions around it. But so every time I lash out, I'm out of anger, I'm really just planting seeds. And if I start thinking about attachment and aversion out of ignorance, all that is unwholesome by definition. And that's how we operate. So there's a lot there. Now, every time I come out of renunciation, goodwill, and harmlessness, good comes. But, our mind's usually not focused on those things. So when we think about right concentration, it's really going to be the ability to be able to respond to life more clearly, more accurately, to respond in a way that cultivates healthy tendencies and stops doing unhealthy tendencies, to transform my whole experience of life by how I live it. Because I was there. I was there. I know where my car keys are. And I know that when someone's yelling at me, I know that they're suffering. That's why they're yelling. Nobody yells at you if they're happy. It just doesn't work like that. And so with that understanding, I can respond to the person yelling at me much more clearly. I know that when I'm sad, that it will come and go. And I don't need to make radical decisions right now. And so I start to learn how to live in the world. And by bringing that level of awareness into the world and making healthier choices, I create karma and conditions that allow me to see clearly, live more peacefully. And those conditions manifest in my life. I create karmic imprints that allow for a lot of conducive conditions for me. So, but it doesn't happen unless I'm there. And I won't be there unless I learn how to train my mind. So this right concentration is critical. It's really critical. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to start meditating right now and I'm going to nail an hour. So there was a little comic. I just love this line. There's a little joke thing on YouTube. This guy goes to an ashram. He keeps calling his girlfriend, bragging about how good he's doing. He said, yeah, the meditation instructor told us to do a 60-minute meditation. I nailed it in 10. Yeah. So we want to let go of measurements of those types of things. And what we really want to measure is, am I able to live in a way that's more in accordance with reality? Do I know that things change? Because that's a tough one, right? Things shouldn't change. My partner shouldn't change. My job shouldn't change. This town shouldn't change. It's not the same town it used to be. Yeah, no, it changed. Everything changes. Yeah, I'm not the same person. Yeah, I tried doing some pull-ups the other day. I am clearly not the same person. I don't know what happened. It was grim. I got 4 in, I used to be able to do a lot. Yeah, so things change, and including our health and fitness. Yeah. So, but if we understand that, we can deal with it and live with it appropriately, and not just have a mind that's dragging me around all day long, worry about this, think about this, have this feeling, and then identify with that. And days come and go, and I'm not there. And I don't remember why I'm here, and I don't remember what's important. And I'm not cultivating healthy attitudes. So it's critical. But we start where we are, and we start small, and we grow it, right? So I started, as I've mentioned many, many times, I started with 10 minutes a day. I started with 10 minutes a day. And eventually I got pretty good at 10 minutes. I went to 15. And eventually I got good at that. Added more. And so we start where we are. If some of us are meditators and we do more. On our website, just so you know, I know we have some new people here, and I don't know how many people are on the internet. If you go to our website, we have Compassion, we have guided meditations. And you can download them. Most of them are 24 minutes. It's called the Gataka. It's a good time frame. Sometimes with a guided meditation, you can last a little longer, because that voice will chime in and remind you to come back to your breath, or whatever the guide is. So start where we are, but really set an intention and remember why I'm doing it. I really think most people lose meditation practice because they don't really know why. They don't understand the benefits. They just have a vague idea it's good for you. Science says it's good for you, right? Yeah. But they don't really know why, and then they jump around a lot. So the classic text here says, start with a concentration one, like shamatha, mindfulness of breath, relaxation, and then on the breath. And then from time to time, shift that up, So we have like loving kindness meditation. Sometimes, we want to liven it up with a bit of that. Sometimes we have some of these hindrances that come up, and we might do another meditation. There's one on the website called Transforming Unskillful Events, one of my personal favorites. And I think it's as far as transforming the mind and being able to really change, to change in your life, to really produce and purify the mind, transforming unskillful events. It's a nice meditation. You just call to mind something you did not feel you did well. It was unskillful. And in that meditation, you can visualize it, bring up the situation, and learn from it more clearly what really happened, not with my emotions entangled. And then ask yourself the question, how could I have handled that skillfully? And then see yourself doing it skillfully. And so in the safety of a meditation, you can actually bring up that and learn from it, and then see how to handle it more skillfully, and then plant that in your consciousness. So the next time you have a shot. It's a 13-minute meditation. It's not long. But I'll tell you what, it's really powerful. So first is to have a regular concentration practice. And again, we have those on the website as well. And they're free, just download them. And mindfulness of breath. And if we, even if it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I use a little app, hit a timer, and works out. If the mind wanders, no problem. That's what it does. We just keep coming back to the breath. But understand that the reason I'm doing it is so I can go do my real practice. Because your real practice is how we walk in the world. How do I respond to the people in my life? How do I respond when I'm agitated? How do I respond when I'm nervous? How do I respond, and how am I misperceiving reality is really the big one. Because if you perceive things more accurately as they are, all of those afflictions settle down. They don't have anything to fuel. So I'll just tell you a big secret. I think it's funny, but okay, I think it's amusing. It's really not funny. It's fascinating, though. Knowing things doesn't change anything, right? We can talk all day about wisdom, and guess what? You can still get angry, frustrated, resentful, and jealous. I can know all this. It doesn't change. If you want to really let go of stress in your life, just let go of any attachment to an outcome. It's that easy. That's all you got to do. And here's the other thing. Outcomes rarely matter. That's another universal truth. Okay, you know it. You have no reason to stress anymore, ever again. But will you stress? And will we think the outcome's really important and really going to change me? Yeah. What changes is the realization that that doesn't really matter. And the only way to get that realization is pay attention. And if I start paying attention to, I got this college degree and I got this award, and I can still suffer. I lost my job, and I got another job. Literally every event in your life and every tragedy, every accomplishment, everything that goes out, it just led to something else. And the outcomes never gave you lasting happiness or lasting suffering. They never do. What gives you lasting happiness is how you got the award. Was it ethical and meaningful? That sticks. What matters is how we respond, not the outcomes. I mean, that's just the way it is. But if we start paying attention to that, we have a shot at a realization. Most of the time, I just really think if I get this award, if I get this job, if I get that relationship, my life will be great. Or if I get healthier, I'll be happy. I love that one. I know a lot of healthy people are not very happy. That's not the equation. The equation is, what are you doing to be healthy? It's a little more accurate. So all this gets summed up by my favorite quote. Okay, one of my favorite quotes. I have a lot of favorite quotes. From my Little League coach. It's not whether you win or lose the game, it's how you play. I mean, that's really the sum up of life in many, many situations. But we really get caught up in winning or losing. And then we have a lot of stress because it really needs to go this way. So the idea of right concentration is that I can bring consciousness into life, the way I'm living it, and start paying attention. I'm stressed. What am I stressed about? Oh, I'm stressed because I really want this to happen. Okay, so if this happens, how will that change your life? How meaningful will that? What if it didn't happen? To start paying attention, and then it does happen. And yet, a day later, I'm angry and frustrated and worried about something else. We start paying attention. So the idea, and when we think about, as we've gone through the Eightfold Path, this is really the eighth piece here. But it's not enlightenment. It comes back to wisdom. Now that I have a mind that works, I start applying it to vipassana, to insight, to wisdom, to clarity, to really release myself from suffering. And so these conditions, you can see how they intertwine. Ethics, concentration, wisdom. We start with wisdom, we end with wisdom. So I do encourage you to have a regular meditation practice. It's not only beneficial, it will help you directly address the afflictions of our life. And then try to bring our awareness into our daily life. And that brings us to 7 o'clock. So, if anyone was interested in all those stages, a good book is called The Attention Revolution by Alan Wallace. We'll go right through all of them. Or Colton's The Four Immeasurables. Does he go through all the stages of that in The Four Immeasurables?
I think he does.
I think he does, yeah. So that's another book, The Four Immeasurables by Alan Wallace, where he'll talk about shamatha, but he'll also include the four immeasurables. So really nice.
What was the name of that tension?
Attention Revolution, which is really all the stages of shamatha. So we'll get ready to do our dedication. But I do want to announce that our first event at the Way of Compassion Dharma Center, 28, is a day-long retreat. So we're going to, a week from Saturday, have a day-long retreat where I'm going to teach the Chenrei Sig practice. So anyone who's interested in cultivating and being able to do a Tibetan Buddhist practice, Chenrei Sig's the Buddha of Compassion. It's a sadhana practice that'll include meditation, visualization, a purification of negative karmic imprints. We did it on New Year's, for those people who are New Year's. I will teach everyone how to do their own practice. And so that's a day-long retreat from 9 to 4. There's some flyers over there. But the reason I want to say it out loud is I would love for you to register online just so we keep track. So, we have our space and we have enough that we know. And anyone out there that's in the area and want to come for a day, it's a really amazing practice. And it's a practice that I would like us to do from time to time. And so anyway, that's February 7th. And really wonderful opportunity. I received the training and teaching from my root guru and permission to teach it. It's a really profound practice, very complete practice, and a lot of merit and wisdom in that practice. So it's good practice. So if you're interested, there's a flyer, but please sign up online. And next week we'll probably be in Suite 28 in our own room. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And if anyone wants to be a volunteer to help, because as we have a Dharma Center, we're becoming a Sangha, and we'll be able to do more events and help support people in practice and have a Sangha. So there's a little sheet. Some of you have already signed up to be volunteers to help really sort of develop our Dharma Center and our vision. So we've got your names, but if anyone hasn't and is interested, that would be helpful. And we'll have a little meeting, get some things going. So excited about that. Anything else I need to say? All right, I'm good. Chocolate pie, it's coming. All right. It'll bring me a lot of laughs.
That's why you only do 4 pull-ups.
Could be. You know, I didn't say I could only do 4. I said I only did 4.
I think that helps with pull-up personally. I think it helps.
It helps. But, you know, I think I just have a lot more to pull up than I used to. That's not entirely true, actually. All right. So we'll do our dedication. And, yeah, thanks to all of you online, too. It's really good for the groups out there. Telluride, Norman, Naples, Gunnison. Gunnison, I'm going to be there Saturday. We're doing a day-long retreat there, too. So it'd be great to see you up there. So let's take a moment and dedicate the virtue and wisdom we've accumulated here for the benefit of all beings. So let us dedicate the virtue and wisdom we've accumulated, both here today and throughout our lives. Dedicate this for the benefit of all beings. May all beings be free of suffering and find lasting happiness. And may we be able to use both the virtue and wisdom accumulated here today and throughout our lives to purify our own minds, to cultivate our own highest potentials, for us to achieve enlightenment so we can truly benefit all beings. All right. Thank you all so much. Always a joy, pleasure, and as usual, try to stay out of trouble. And goodbye to all of you. Thanks.